So I guess, friends, we are live. Hi, this is Nidhi, and today I have Itamar with me. This is first of a kind of session on this YouTube channel where we have a live guest. I did not really get a lot of time to market and promote and do a really warm welcome for Itamar, but I think that's the beginning. A little bit about Itamar. Itamar is really an expert when it comes to SEO and YouTube. Itamar has been doing YouTube marketing for, I guess, over 12 years, if I'm not wrong. And he's an expert when it comes to YouTube marketing and SEO. He's from London, UK. Over to you, Itamar. I would like you to do a brief introduction of the cool work you do. I know you do a lot of work around your YouTube channel, your own website. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, Nidhi, thanks so much for that introduction. So I've been an SEO consultant for just under a year or just over half a year now. But before that, I was always really fascinated with getting things ranking, being able to create content and get people to find it. So that's where the kind of SEO thing started. But yeah, YouTube, I've been on YouTube for a very long time. I've had multiple different channels ranging from sport to gaming to technology, to all sorts of different projects. I've worked on multiple different accounts. But for right now, I just kind of like creating content that's helpful for people. I like helping clients just improve their organic visibility, whether that's through their websites or other social media platforms. And that's about it for the introduction.
So what is it in SEO that excites you? I mean, this is my favorite question because the performance side of SEO excites me a lot. And there are people who love the content side of SEO. So what is it that excites you about SEO?
I think it's just being able to measure something. It's being able to kind of take on a project and seeing it from, you can take on a project from the very beginning. Say there's a new website and you can kind of help figure out, what should the site structure be? What kind of content should be on it? How are we going to be able to, for instance, monetize the site? How are we going to be able to grow the audience base? So there's, being able to measure all of these things and, implementing things that thread the needle, I think is just one of the more satisfying parts of it. So being able to make some changes on the site and seeing how that website improves organically, I think is what kind of makes me want to do it again, like keep going, keep improving, do it for other websites. And I think that's just kind of what makes it a more kind of sustained levels of happiness, I would put it.
Yeah, and I think especially COVID has made us realize that when your other performance marketing channels like your advertisements, whether it's Google ads or Facebook ads are shut, your website is the only source which is up and running without investing any amount of money, and you are still able to generate business even when you have something massively disruptive as COVID going on, and hence you're not able to spend on your advertising budget, but still your business goes on because of organic. So I think a lot of businesses have realized the true potential of organic and what it brings to table, adding to your point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, the two things that really help fuel that in terms of cost saving, but still being able to get business from is, like you say, so organic visibility, so your SEO, but also your email marketing. These are things that you can get information out for very, very cheap, if little to no capital required really for that. And obviously, like you say, if businesses right now don't have the budgets anymore to continue, some businesses they pay thousands because business isn't going too well, then what did they revert to? They look for the email list, they look for their website, how are they able to attract people? So you make a great point, and I think that COVID has definitely kind of touched more upon the importance of organic, because these businesses realize, well, we've had to stop budgets for this, and it's like, why aren't we getting any people on our site anymore? And it's like, well, if you've invested all your money into paid ads and you haven't focused on your website, then there's a problem there that's going to take some time to fix. So yeah, definitely, it's kind of highlighted the I guess the importance of organic visibility on search engines.
Yeah, and in fact, I would just add to that that now businesses are realizing, because I have seen a lot of big businesses invest a lot of time, money, and effort in building their paid side of media. So there typically will be huge teams supporting Google ads, Facebook ads, Pinterest, and other form of ads, but and other form of organic marketing. But very few people would work on search engine optimization. I think the trend is changing also, because initially search engine optimization also, I have heard some of the corporates say that it's like placebo. We never know what is working and what is not. So it's a big catch whether we are paying agencies just for something that they tell us, or whether it's reality. But I think that's changing because of the shaping time as well, and the way Google is bringing businesses money. So yeah, with that in point, I think I would like to hear from you. What are some of your favorite SEO tools?
Tools. Okay, so I mean, there's so many out there, so many tools out there, and it's funny you say that, because I had a video that I put up yesterday of like my favorite tools for beginners. So I listed, and I can list maybe a few from that list. So I think favorite tools, it's got to be, I want to answer this as like favorite tools, but there are some tools that are absolutely fundamental as well, that it's like, you can have a list of your favorite tools, but if people really want to know what tools they need, then, you've got to start off with the ones that Google give you in terms of, your Search Console, your Google Analytics, your Google Tag Manager. These are things that you can just go into and mess around with, get a better feel in terms of, what kind of data you're being shown from Google itself. And that's obviously the most reliable kind of data that you can get, right? Because when you think of the third-party tools, then, there are so many of them out there. And some of my favorites would be SEMRush, so SEMRush, and Ahrefs. I feel like I use those the most in terms of kind of third-party tools that kind of give you data, and they're great for what they do. Don't get me wrong. I feel like favorite, I don't know. It's kind of like, it's one of those things. I feel like so many tools can be your favorite tools, I guess, because of the the power that they give you in terms of what the value is for you. So, for example, like crawlers and spiders and crawling tools like Screaming Frog, that is really powerful. The things that you can see from that. So I guess that could also be another favorite tool. But yeah, just to name a few, I think SEMRush, Screaming Frog, Ahrefs, and the ones that come with Google, so Google Search Console, Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, are probably my favorite. What about you? Do you have a different set of favorites? That'll be quite interesting to hear.
Yeah, in fact, to start with, I think I really love the basic tools that are provided by Google, when it comes to right from the start. Like Keyword Planner is an amazing tool to research what content I should curate. And once I've created the content, I think Google Analytics helps me what traffic is coming to my website, where are these people going, and then Google Search Console that tells me what keywords, what search terms are coming to my website. So typically this is my process. I go to Keyword Planner and do keyword research and create content. Then I refer to Search Console and see what search terms are actually bringing traffic. Then I optimize my website to have those search terms in abundance, or at least semantic searches, semantic keywords in abundance. And that's how optimize my website. And then I use Google Analytics to see how much time they are spending, where are they bouncing off, where are they entering, where they are exiting, are my money pages getting enough traffic. So I think a lot can be done by these free tools. And after that, of course, I have used both a paid version of Ahref, paid version of SEMRush. I also attended a huge conference that SEMRush did, and I started to love the tool even more after attending the conference and all that, all the stuff that they showed to us. So yeah, I think I would say the first three favorite are Search Console, Keyword Planner, Google Analytics, and then if someone is looking to upgrade through a paid tool, I think then I will say SEMRush. And then there are a host of other tools like Moz Toolbar, uh, Crazy Frog, then lot many. I think the list is endless. And I think with that, we have a question, and someone is saying, "Tell us more about SEMrush tool, please."
Yeah, I
So
saw
I
that.
think you have done.
Sorry, carry on. So what was that?
Yeah, I think you have done ample and more videos around SEMrush. I think you should take this question and maybe answer our live visitor.
Yeah, no problem. So, hi Manisha, thanks for tuning in and thanks for the question. So SEMrush it's basically a tool that, it's not specifically for digital marketers. It's an overall kind of, marketing software as a service tool that, it's got over 40 different features, and you can track a lot of things. For example, it can help you with your paid advertising. It can help you with your organic visibility, auditing your website. There's so many things, and I feel like I could sit here for half an hour and explain just the basic features. But I've got a video actually on my channel where I do a review of SEMrush. So I list like my kind of top 5 favorite features, and I go into them in a bit more detail. So you can find that there. But yeah, like I say, SEMrush it's a massive tool, massive company. They do loads of updates all the time for their tool. They're always adding new features, and they've got a great community behind them as well. So I'm quite close with a lot of the people on the SEMrush team, and they're great. I mean, Nidhi, you've been to the SEMrush event in India, which so I know people who have gone, and they told me it was awesome, and you even told me yourself that it was great. So they're a massive company, and they're really customer focused as well. I feel like do you get that same kind of vibe from SEMrush? I feel like they're very much always kind of listening to feedback.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, just to mention, I started this YouTube channel because the Eliada took a session in SEMrush conference, and she mentioned that on the big screen, and this is how she put it, that I wanted my pie from the big YouTube share. So that's how she opened her YouTube presentation, and she said that I wanted my little pie out of the big YouTube share that YouTube search has, and that's how she started her YouTube channel. And I remember, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking of that moment. I remember she was about 1,200 subscribers back then. Her channel's name is Scrolling Mondays.
Oh yeah,
And
later.
I was so inspired through her talk that after the conference we went on a little vacation, and I shot my first video. The exact first video that you see on this channel is shot and inspired because of Eliada's presentation in SEMRush conference. And and this YouTube channel was born, and we are 31, 32 videos and counting. So I think personally, the conference in SEMRush has been a really key to this channel and this kind of conversation that we are having now.
Yeah, that's incredible. Obviously, like I've spoken to Leda multiple times, and I don't know, it's such a small world when you think, and we mentioned it like when we first kind of thought about creating this type of content. We said, it's such a small world, the SEO world or digital marketing in general. But it's really great. I think people inspire others to do better, try new things, and to improve, and that's I think one of the best things about the industry.
Yeah, that's true. I think we have questions pouring in, And I will link your YouTube. By the way, guys, the YouTube link, Itamar's YouTube link is in the description. You can go and check out all the videos. You can have you can have a look at the video that he created yesterday on tools. You can see one video on SEMRush. So just go and check out the description. And I think we have a question from James, and the question is: in digital marketing profession, is it required to have coding skills? I am currently working in B2B sales, and now I am trying to move to marketing. What do
I
you think,
think,
James?
well, hi, James. Thanks for the question. I think when it comes to coding, you know, some people get quite intimidated by the word coding, especially if, you know, they didn't kind of go to college for computer science, for instance. But, you know, I think it helps in digital marketing to know, you know, quite basic HTML, I would say is the kind of basics, especially within SEO. If it comes to, you know, web design, web development, then obviously you're going to need to know, you know, more about CSS and other types of languages. I don't feel like it's absolutely, you know, make or break kind of thing. And it's always stuff that you can learn as well. So if you feel like you're entering a profession and you kind of look at, say, the requirements that that particular job has, and if they mention any particular type of code, there are so many platforms online where you can learn code, and there's so many out there. I tried one like years and years ago, and then I kind of thought, well, I don't really want to be a programmer or anything like that. But yeah, there's so many out there, and I feel like it's not, you know, make or break, like I say. So and it's stuff that usually, especially if you're just getting into the marketing field, then, you know, you shouldn't kind of have to worry too much about that.
Yeah, and just to add my 2 bits, even though I have a degree in computer applications, I have never really done any hands-on stuff apart from building my WordPress website. So I think it's more like Itamar said, it's more based on the kind of role you pick. So digital marketing is an umbrella term, and you can get into several roles under digital marketing. And if it comes to SEO, in SEO also you can choose what kind of role you wish to pick in. It is always good to have that understanding, because whenever you get stuck in some glitch, you will be quickly able to spot it, and not just spot it but fix it as well. But even if you're not able to do it, I don't think that's gonna be a roadblock. At least it was not for me. So I'm lucky to say that I think very smoothly you can make a career in SEO without having to understand any coding or development skills. You can have a colleague or a junior or a senior to help you out with those stuff, and you can focus on something that excites you. But it is very important that you understand what excites you, and then you get into that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, you know, it's like you, especially when you go into a new role and it's your first time in the marketing field or whatever, you know, you will have people around you who, you know, hopefully are able to kind of help build up your skills as well. So you don't feel like you have to necessarily kind of do everything on your own, unless, of course, you are doing everything on your own and you're just like starting your own site and doing this and that. So, you know, coding can help. It's not kind of make or break, but yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I think we have more questions. Can you tell us more about how link building activities have evolved?
So link building, and I hope I pronounce it, Sarab.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think link building definitely has evolved, and it's just become a lot. Well, it's become harder, I think, because people are more aware, and companies are more aware. Webmasters are more aware of what a lot of people are trying to do. So, you know, it's not going to be that easy if you just ask somebody to put a link to your website. Whereas back in the day, that may have worked a lot better. And, you know, there are different strategies that worked back then. Back then, it was all about, you know, volume. It was all about, can you use exact match anchor text and get, you know, hundreds of thousands of links, and then you'd be, you know, shot up to page one within 24 hours or something ridiculous like that. But machine learning and Google evolves, and you need to really think about first, before you think of link building, it's more about the content that you have, because you need to think about it from, I'd say, from a common sense perspective. And you think about how Google operates as a search engine. So their USP is they want to bring the most reliable and accurate answers for any query, right? And so, if you can build links to, a content piece that might not be that helpful, and I still see that a lot of times, and then these content pieces won't rank. But in terms of how link building activities have evolved, I think it's just more about adding value, more than anything. I think it's about what value can you bring to a webmaster for them to provide you back a link to your website. Are you kind of doing something for them for free? Like, have you said, oh, like, I've run an audit of your site, for instance. I found a few things that you might consider fixing. And hey, also, I've got this piece of content that might fit in nicely with the kind of content you've already got. I think it's just a lot more due diligence. So, you have to be more careful in terms of where you're trying to get links from. So, there's more things that you need to check. You need to check, is this prospect website, is it relevant to my niche? Does it have traffic? What links does it have? What kind of domains does it link to? Does it link to things that are also in my niche? There's so many questions, and there's so many strategies. And I've got a video and a blog post where I talk about 13 different link building techniques. If you can find that on my site. But Nidhi, what do you think about link building and where it's going and how it's evolved?
In fact, I would say I've seen quite some evolution on how link building was done a decade ago and now. Initially, when we started, I think it was much easier to build links. As you rightly said, that the platforms were also evolving, and there was no spamming at that much spamming at that point in time. I'm talking about a decade ago. So it was much easier to create a website, do some backlink building, and you start getting traffic. You will start getting traffic. So it was much, much easier to rank. And then internet picked up, link building activities picked up, and spamming picked up. So more and more Google became more smarter and brought in concept of no follow, do follow. Platforms became more smarter and started giving no follow links to all the top sites like Facebook, Quora, Reddit. All of these give no follow links these days, just to avoid spamming. So that's how these things changed. Also, initially when you post a link, you used to get a significant amount of traffic through those links. So the platforms evolved, and nowadays, if you post something somewhere, the click-through rate of these links are also much lower. So I think this is an entire evolution of link building, where having a lot of weight on link building to having a really complex structure, like you said, around what industry my business in, what industry where I'm building link from, what kind of backlinks they are getting, what is their domain authority. And now the system is much more complex, and so as to cut down on spams. So the entire architecture or structure of link building has become really difficult. And to be fair, it's more organic, or sort of say, if you are building it more in an organic way, you will have higher chances of getting success, is what I think is the reality of this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like what I mentioned before about the content that you have. It's not more about doing link building because you want to do link building and you want to get better rankings, you want more traffic. It's more about what content do I have on my site that people might actually want to link to. And you make a good point as well, because the links have, I think, less of an impact potentially, when we talk click-through rate and traffic and things like that, because saturation, because of the mass of content that gets put up, and you think of how the web has evolved in terms of how many pages are put up now, and there's billions of web pages, and how exactly are you going to be able to funnel loads of traffic when there are thousands of people doing the exact same thing as you. And I think that's the other thing to kind of focus on, is being able to, you know, really stand out from the crowd, whether that's from your content perspective, but also from your, you know, from your networking perspective as well. You know, are you able to make really good connections with some webmasters who run you know, blogs or certain websites that generate lots of traffic, because that might help you and be favorable to you at some point if you're able to kind of feature on there. And that's the other thing as well. You know, link building, you know, a lot of people say no follow links are pointless, and I would always say, you know, if you're able to get a no follow link on somewhere like Forbes, for instance, where you can get so much traffic from links, especially if the content's really good, you can get business from that as well. So, you know, don't discount links that are no follow, even if it's somewhere on like Reddit, which is now all no follow UGC attributes. But, you know, even that, if there's like a really trending Reddit post that links to somewhere, you can still get loads of traffic from that. So yeah, you know, links are still powerful, but it's much harder nowadays.
I would agree. I totally agree with that point, actually. In fact, just to add link building, I think when we say link building, it sounds like, you know, just bare bones. And there is so much to link building. When you add content to link building, it's like adding skin to those bare bones, where you are actually talking about adding meaning to, like you said, having good relationship with webmasters. So how will you have good relationship with webmasters when you are in a mutually profitable relationship, which means you are adding meaningful content to their site, and in return they are also giving you leverage through their links. So I think at some point between the technicality of getting ranked through SEO, we have lost the actual meaning, how this all started and why Google started it, and what was the meaningful way of sharing content, ended up becoming link building actually. But I think if we start, like you said, thinking it in a more meaningful way, more enriching and content fulfilling way, I think we will get much higher success, sort of say.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree.
And I think we have another question. What is your favorite platform to build link?
My favorite platform to build links. So I use, let's think. I think Ahrefs is quite powerful when it comes to links. I think their platform has a lot, like very up to date and quite accurate depictions of backlink profiles. So some of the things you could do is like their link intersect feature, which I can put my domain, I can put in up to I think 4 or 5 of my competitors and be able to see what links they have and which that they have and I don't. So I can find opportunities there. I can take a look at their backlink profile, see what I'm able to build, be able to find, because for example with the link intersect tools, if somebody's going to be linking to 3 of your competitors, why can't they build links? Why can't they add a link to your website, right? So you've got to just use these tools, I think, to conduct a lot of research, and that's what I like to do when it comes to link building. So Ahrefs is pretty good for that.
Yeah, and I think we have another question, and we'll just take back the SEO question after this one. I think Abhinav has been waiting. The question is, okay, the question is, Abhinav is asking, I'm going to change from sales to digital marketing. So does a certification works for a start?
I think certifications are one of those things that it might sound nice for an employer, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't feel like certifications are that necessary. Like, I don't think they're really necessary when it comes to starting in digital marketing, because it's a field that you can learn things very quickly. And I feel like when you start in digital marketing, it's less about what kind of certifications you've done, what you've done in the past. I feel personally it's more about your attitude. I feel like if you're able to show that you're hungry, that you're willing to learn, that you're proactive. If you can show those attributes to an employer, you're much more likely, I think, to get the job, because that's what you need from a digital marketer. You want somebody who is able to want to learn, want to try new things, and keep up with trends, because the industry changes very frequently. So things that have worked yesterday might not work tomorrow, but it's the people who are proactive and are able to adapt to change and who are hungry to try new things. Those are the people who are going to learn the quickest and succeed the most, I think. What do you think, Nidhi?
Yeah, in fact, I would see it like this. So when you're starting up as a fresher and you don't have much on CV, and because I have been answering this question over and over many a times on Quora, and here are my thoughts. So when you actually update your CV on a job portal, it's through keywords. So the SEO comes here again. So it's through keywords your CV gets discovered. So when you're starting up as a fresher and you don't have any projects or assignments to show, I think it's a good idea to take a path of taking up a course, because once you take a course or certification, I wouldn't want to call it certification, because then the focus is only about taking a degree or taking a piece of paper. I would say when you take a structured learning path via course or something, then you actually get 2 3 things. One, you get to understand what this field encapsulates. So you will get to understand all the topics that you might not be aware when you are taking an unstructured learning path. So you will know about link building. You will also know about do follow, no follow, which in a very traditional way, if you're learning, you might need some guidance, some mentor, which you may or may not get all the time. But taking a course helps you get that structured path of learning. That's one. Two, once you take a course, what happens is, because you have taken the course, because you have taken the structured part of learning, you have a set of keywords that you would be able to include in your CV, and hence get higher discovery on the job portals. That's two. Three, you will be able to figure out of the bigger, larger bucket of digital marketing, whether you want to do SEO, SEM, you want to be specific in PPC or in social media or on something specific, or you want to go on the content side or email side. So you basically get a entire architecture in front of you, and you then get to choose, okay, I like this, I don't like this. So that sort of thing. So I think these 3 things, just to quickly summarize: one, you get a structured learning, which you can of course get on your own as well, but sometimes it is difficult because we are not that exploratory in nature, we don't get the right guidance or right mentorship, or that's not the format that works for us. So the structured learning helps that way. You get to add those keywords in your CV when you take a course. And 3, you get to understand the entire ecosystem and then pick and choose what works for me, what not. So I think these are the 3 reasons, if at all you're going to think of a course, not certification. And as Itamar said, digital marketing can be learned on our own. If you're really exploratory in nature, you can go and create your own website, and you will learn everything about building a website that you might not even learn through a course. But then you will be only learning about website. If you want to learn email marketing, have a MailChimp account and plug it with your website and start building there. Have a Facebook fan page, run ads, do some Google ads. Again, the intensity of ads would be much lower because you will be burning your own money, but try to get some projects and do stuff on your own. All these things are very much possible, and there are ample and more examples of people who are doing these things on their own without having to go through a structured path of learning. Just that structured path expedites the entire process of you getting to learn all the things that are possible in that ecosystem, and then pick and choose the right fit for you. And that's my take. And it is also coming from my previous experience, which was into a startup, which was into ed tech, and where digital marketing was a course. So I will be able to tell you a lot more benefits as well. But I think it could be a little biased because of the background that I'm coming from. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also a really important point. It was something that I was going to bring up as well. I think the one thing that will make you stand out from other people, especially when you're trying to get the job, is, you know, what have you done to stand out from other people who may have also taken the same course as you? So if you took a course on SEO, one thing you can do is start your own site and try and rank your website using things that you've learned from that course and apply it. Because, you know, at the end of the day, people want doers, right? So I feel like more in the job sense of things, they want people who have a kind of, you know, that who are willing to do things, as opposed to just being able to learn things and keep things in your head. You know, you want to take what you've learned and actually apply it. So applicable ways to put what you've learned to the test is also going to help you stand out, and it's much more attractive for an employer to see that from you. And then, like I say, you'll be more likely to get that role.
Yeah, and with that, another question comes right up, which is again around the job market. I think with COVID and the situation, there is a lot of thinking and anxiousness around how this is going to be. And the question is, what is the future of digital marketing? As you know, these days, more and more people are removed from jobs because of a great volume of businesses are sourced through internet.
Yeah, I think this one's quite, and it's funny that James mentioned this, because this is another video that I've got up about, you know, trends in digital marketing for 2021. But I think the main thing to point out is people are losing their jobs, especially in businesses that haven't been able to adapt to the online space. So, you know, e-commerce is one of the things I mentioned in that video. I think it's the first thing because it's absolutely fundamental. So I think when you think of future of digital marketing, as the name suggests, you know, you can't have digital marketing if your business isn't online. And I think that's the first thing that people need to understand, because a lot of businesses, they're like, oh, we want to get into digital marketing. And it's like, well, do you have a website? And they say no. And it's like, well, this is the fundamental problem. You know, if you're a business that, especially local businesses as well, and whilst it is very difficult for a lot of small local businesses who might not have the money to, you know, go all out on advertising campaigns online and things like that. But, you know, nowadays it's not that expensive to set up a site, and you know, Google My Business is something that you can set up for free. You know, you can get like hosting on the cheap as well. So there's no excuse really anymore, I think, for businesses, even small local businesses, because at the end of the day, the future of digital marketing is solely going to be online, and how you're able to market a business online, whether it's through SEO, whether it's through PPC. I think all of these things are very applicable. SEO is still going to be much more important, just because it is a long-term activity that, you know, if done right, will get you the most amount of leads. And it's the most cost-effective way to get leads, because you're not having to spend money all the time on ads. And if you stop paying, for example, for the ads, then no one's going to see your business. So I think, you know, SEO is very important when it comes to the future of digital marketing. But there are also other things that, you know, are kind of in the works that people are thinking of, like voice search, for instance. And I know we were going to be speaking about voice search as well. And I still think it's something that it's kind of like in its infancy stage, because, you know, there's no real way to measure it. As a marketer, it's very difficult to measure voice search and things of that nature. But, you know, it's all about consumers. And I feel like as a digital marketer, the one thing you need to understand first and foremost is your customers, your audience, your ideal customer, how they behave, how they want to be able to access your business, how they want to be able to, you know, part way with their money with you. What kind of things do they want from you? What kind of content, what offerings they want, and then being able to facilitate that to them, I think is the most important thing to consider.
Yeah, and I would agree that yes, the job market is tough. Yes, there are a lot of layoffs, and yes, still in this job scenario, it's the people who are actually completely who are actually advancing their skill sets, advancing and upgrading themselves, are the safest people. So having acknowledging all that you said, Abhinav, no, sorry, James, it's still the truth that if you have the right skill sets, and if you are upgrading yourself, then chances of succeeding are much higher.
Hmm.
Is just what I would like to add. And have we taken this one? Your favorite backlink building platform?
Yeah, I think we went through that when I talked a little bit about
Yeah.
Ahrefs. I hope I did, Manisha. If I haven't, just let us know in the comments.
Okay, we have some spammers and um, okay, we have another question. I'm just scrolling through. What's the future of it? Where is the future of SEO lies, and how small businesses should look at it when they are starting building a website? I'm
Hmm.
sorry, it's my monopod that's shaking when I touch the comments. I'm so sorry. I'll just try to keep it stable if my video is getting blurred.
Oh, for me, it looks fine. So Saurabh, thanks for the question. Thanks for tuning in. I think it's a really important question because, small businesses, a lot of the time, they kind of say, oh, it's like, oh, we need SEO, but they don't sometimes know where to begin. So I think I'm going to kind of tailor that question to, in terms of where the future of SEO lies, more specifically. Oh, no, because it is two different questions. Okay, so let me answer the first part. So the future of SEO, I think, is more about how you can get the most engagement from your audience. I feel like engagement metrics are things that Google look at because they know exactly how long somebody's on a site. They probably know where the mouse is. They probably know how long you're most likely looking at a certain section of the site. They know all of these things. And even though they might not share that data with you, these are all things that they can develop within their algorithms and their machine learning to figure out if a particular site is engaging. And because engagement is sometimes a good way to measure, accuracy or reliability or relevancy of content. So, when we think of things like, okay, the one exception maybe were featured snippets where you're asking, for example, when was the first moon landing? That's going to give you a simple answer. You don't need to click on that particular result. But I think more focus for SEOs to more like think about the content, think about the website. Is there a good user experience? Are people engaged? Because at the end of the day, the more engaging a website is for someone, the more likely they are to return. And the better the content is on that website, the more likely for the audiences to go back onto that website and continue consuming their content. So I think a lot of it is to do with engagement. So if there things like how do you improve engagement is a question that gets asked a lot. And I think think of ways to stand out. Think of ways to kind of make your content more comprehensive. So for example, with the blog posts on my website, for instance, most of them will have a video embedded at the top. And why do I do that? Well, not only do a lot of people prefer, watching content and being entertained by videos as opposed to reading long forms of text, but it also just gives them a choice. And plus, if they do watch that video, then they're spending longer on my website and that engagement goes up. And then, search engines like Google, they understand that. And then they might want to decide that, okay, this particular web page seems to be matching the intent quite well because users are staying on the site more. They're engaged, let's say, with the video. And if it's Google, for instance, obviously I've got videos from YouTube that are embedded there, and YouTube is owned by Google, so there's some kind of potential plus that might give you. I don't know, but it would make sense. I think from a common sense perspective, it's something that's good to do. But not even just videos. You can create infographics about particular content that you've got. You can share that on social media, get people to go directly to the post as well. You can build backlinks from it. I think it's more about engagement and creating a better user experience. So that's the first part of that question. And the second part about how small businesses should look at SEO when they start building a site. I think it's more just like, they need to get a professional on board, because if you start it on your, by yourself, and you start it off in the wrong way, then you'll just fall into issues later down the line. So, get someone in to help, focus on your site architecture, the types of content that you should be putting up, making sure that, your website loads quickly, all of these things that, the fundamentals that you need to get done right at the beginning, because if you don't, that's going to be a problem. And, even things such as speed and page experience, because page experience has been confirmed to be a ranking factor from next year, I believe in March. So, that's all the kind of speed and the cumulative layout shift and the largest contentful paint, all of these sorts of things. And you can check them out with a Lighthouse audit as well. You can do that, page speed insights, to check how quickly your website loads, for instance. But, for small businesses, when they start off, they need to bring in somebody, an SEO, who will be able to kind of help sort out the fundamentals, and it'll just make it a lot easier for them to rank in the future.
Yeah, and with that, Itamar, in fact, this was one of the questions that I personally wanted to ask you. How do you see voice search? Because I know you mentioned wonderful thing about engagement, and I think which is key, because many times when we think of SEO, we think of all the bare bones, and we miss the skin, which is content and engagement. So that's a very important point. And I also know that voice search started picking up a few years back. What's your take on it? How is it changing or evolving? Because voice search brings in long tail keyword, more conversational style of keyword. How do you see it changing the SEO game and evolving?
Yeah, it's interesting, and like I don't want to seem like a pessimist when I talk about voice search, but I feel like for now it's still very much you got to think about the use cases for it. So, most of searches for voice, according to studies, are your things such as, Alexa, play this song, or, for example, can you turn off the lights, or what certain queries that for a lot of businesses, it might be unlikely for customers to be asking these questions on voice search. I think it's also about the results that you get. Because on certain Home Assistants, you've only got, one answer. So that obviously makes things a lot more difficult. It becomes a lot more competitive to actually manage to answer that one question the best out of everyone who's trying to optimize for it and answer it. But even things with Siri, for instance, you know, if you do a voice search in Siri, most of the times, if it's not a direct answer, Siri will just say, okay, here's what I found on the web. And then it's only listing the top 5 organic results anyway. So I think with voice search, you really need to think about the use case for it. You need to think about, you know, is this actually going to get me a lot of customers? And right now, I just don't feel like voice search is at that point. And it's also what I mentioned earlier, which is that, you know, you're not able to measure it. So you don't know at the moment who entered your website through, you know, saying a particular phrase or asking a particular thing to either a Home Assistant or to Siri, which is a big problem for SEOs, because SEOs, if they can't track it, then how do they know if there's a correlation there?
Right.
And they don't.
Not.
So yeah, I think it's still, like I said before, it's at an infancy stage at the moment where we just need to see as a society, as human beings, how we develop with that technology. You know, are we suddenly, you know, just going to be using voice searches for looking for content? Probably not right now. Maybe in the next 10 to 20 years, where things will be a lot more sophisticated, hopefully. But it's just an interesting concept. I feel like, you know, don't downplay it per se, but I just don't feel like voice search is the thing to focus on right now.
Sure, sure. And with that, I will bring another question. I think the question is, can you tell us more about shopping tab SEO? I'm not really sure, Varun, what do you mean? Itamar, are you aware about this?
Yeah, I think it's just if you're talking about, you know, when you type in, for example, gray t-shirt and you get the shopping tab, showing up. I think that's, obviously you're going to have an e-com website. In terms of ranking factors for shopping tabs specifically, I'm not 100% sure of. I think if you're dealing with an e-commerce site, there are ways to optimize product pages. I feel like it's making sure that you're displaying the right information. So, this is where your schema markup and your structured data becomes important, because you're able to very clearly tell Google exactly what the products are, what the services are. So that will probably, I would say, has an impact in terms of showing up on the shopping tab. But there are also loads of things that can affect it. And I'll give the example of Amazon, for instance, because what I've noticed when looking in Amazon is a lot of times the organic results that are shown are the ones that are cheaper, more often than not. So the results that you see are products that are much cheaper than the rest of them. So the more you scroll down the page, you'll find more expensive products. And that's not to say that's like that for every single query, every single product search, but for a lot of times that is the case. So I think with shopping tabs specifically, I would say structured data and schema are the ways to make Google better aware of the product specifically. So then it's much easier for them to understand it and display it for the shopping tab. So that's what I'd say. Obviously, there needs to be. I haven't looked at any tests or case studies for that, but I would say, just as a hypothesis of mine, right off the, just thinking aloud, that's what would make the most sense to me. But yeah, I think shopping tab SEO is definitely something that people try and do. And I think it's also down to your e-commerce site in the first place, making sure that the SEO for your website is done correctly, because that's obviously going to help you when it comes to ranking in shopping tab.
Sure. So I think one on hope you are there watching this. We just picked up your question. And the next question, actually, this is my personal question. And the question is, so in SEO, some things I think are there from the longest of time, that are always there. And there are some things that always keep on changing. So what's your take on what's going to stay even in 2021 and beyond, and what's going to change, or what will keep on changing?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's something that a lot of people wonder themselves. They're like, okay, what's going to stay the same? What's going to change? I think the things that will stay and will probably, for at least the next 5 to 10 years, will still be the case is content, so keywords and backlinks. I feel like those like keywords and backlinks are going to stay there. That fundamental for search. It's being able to use keywords and backlinks to help at least provide more insight to search engines in terms of what's a reputable site. So when you talk about EAT, so expertise, authoritative, and trustworthiness, links will play a massive part in that. So in terms of things that will stay, I'll put I bet my bottom dollar that it's going to be keywords and backlinks will be here to stay. The things that will change, I don't know. I think it's just creativity. I feel like creativity is going to have to change, because when you think about saturation and you think about how much competition there is out there nowadays within any industry is most likely going to have a lot of competition. So it's about, how do you become more creative than your competitors? How are you going to be able to outcompete them? How are you going to be able to create better content? How are you going to be able to market yourself better, create a better brand for yourself? These are all things that, it starts from the mind. So I think maybe marketers just have to be more creative as time goes on, just because there's more competition out there. But yeah, I think, what do you think, Nidhi? What do you think will stay the same, and what do you think will change?
So actually, you made a really wonderful point, which is marketers need to be more creative. And this is how I see it. And I'll take some time, and you can add your points to this. That when this just started to begin, I think over a decade ago, when things started to shape up and internet started to grow much bigger in size, and the big data came into picture. we all were in the basic content layer where, we were only thinking of bare basic information sort of content pieces. So very few people used to create interesting content or high value content, because even just creating the basic was enough to, to get to people, to make sales, etc. And then things started to evolve, and competition started to become higher and higher. Billions and billions of sites are there these days, and it's very important, in order to stand out, we need to be creative. We need to come up with ways that are yet not explored. And to be very honest, the sites that are doing good, I know there are several sites that are creating I don't know if you know Brain Pickings. The lady behind Brain Pickings, she create very passionately curated content. But why? Tim Urban. He creates long pieces of content, really very unique, with unique personality, tonality, and with a lot of creativity. Just like you mentioned, that the content needs to stand apart from the clutter. Otherwise, you're just becoming everyone else. Even Google won't know why it should rank you. So I think previously you also mentioned something about engagement and now creativity. I think these two go hand in hand. So engagement and creativity. I think if we are creative enough, we are able to identify the pain points of our audience and create and are able to solve their problem in creative ways. Then engagement will happen automatically. And you rightly said that this is going to stay. Engagement is going to stay all along. This is like the motherhood statement, that something which will not change is engagement. And yeah, I think you're bang on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more for me to add, I think, about that sentiment. And like you say, these are things that people need to put more of an emphasis on, I think, when it comes to their marketing strategies. So it's more about, how do you engage people? How do you get people to buy into your brand? And these are the kind of key questions that, if marketers are able to do well, then they'll see much, much better results and more sustainable results too.
Right. And also, I think I would just like to add that when you're thinking organic, think of a customer's life cycle as well. As a user, when you are buying a product, when you are seeking any sort of end goal, there is a journey to this entire process. And it's very important, when you are thinking SEO, you're just not thinking about backlink building or content creation or this and that. These are just tasks. Think of the end goal, and then think of how you are responsible for helping user navigate to that end goal. So if someone is looking to buy a car or a laptop, they take a specific journey, they see an ad, they do some research, they see some review, they see some user generated content. Uh, then there is some journey. Maybe if they are planning to buy something very expensive, they do how they will take a loan, or how they will take credit card EMI. So there is a step, a process to that journey. So I think many a times while doing SEO, we get really busy in thinking of tasks, and we forget the bigger picture, which is mapping customer journey, mapping customer intent, and then facilitating the user to take that journey smoothly. So if my users are going and checking out on Quora and Reddit about user generated content, how I can be there to get them to my website from there. So I think these are some important points that we need to take care when we are thinking SEO, and we are not just thinking technical aspects, but also very human aspects, which are related to how the audience behaves and how they make decisions, and then mapping that decision making on our website or through our efforts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Some really, really good points. And the customer journey as well is something that will always have to be considered. So, how from the top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, how are you able to engage? How are you going to be able to find the audiences and get them, to make the conviction to purchase your offerings? And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. So yeah, I think with this we are actually bang on time. In fact, I had a lot of questions pre-prepared, but I think we had some good engagement. And thank you for all the viewers to be with us, post questions, to viewers, to spammers, and everyone who created a lot of engagement on this video. Itamar, do you want to say some sign of words?
Yeah, just thanks for all the questions that came in. It was great to be here on your channel. Had a really good time, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and guys, we will be doing another live video on Itamar's channel. So I'll keep you guys posted on when we are going live and having this chat on his channel. The topic is going to be a different topic from SEO, I believe. We'll shape out the details and we'll share with you guys. We'll update the comment section and description. So that's all from our side. Hope you had fun.
Cheers.
Bye bye. Cheers.